Thanks, Nick, and thank you very much to you and Andy for inviting me along. It was a response to an email I sent yesterday, just with a few ideas about things that have happened recently that people might want to pick up on in terms of campaigning, which I'll go on to. I spoke at your first meeting back in January, and it's quite exciting to see how things have developed and moved on since then. On the 15th of March, the Tories published their national bus strategy, which was the first part of it was very interesting. It made all the criticisms of the existing bus system as that you might have expected, saying really that that deregulation has been a complete failure. Fares have gone up, routes have gone down, all those things that we're aware of. Where it falls completely short is in having a strategy to actually turn that round. So it's pushing really for something called enhanced partnerships, which doesn't address the issue of public control. And all the items in it about funding fall way, way short of what is actually required. But the arguments are there really clearly to say that we actually need radical change. So that was the first thing. The second thing was what Nick's already mentioned, which is Andy Burnham's announcement last week that Manchester is going to go for the franchising of its bus services, which puts control of the bus services in the hands of the Transport Authority, so that they franchise out, they invite tenders, but they set the parameters in terms of routes, timetables, bus fares, and so on. So, you know, it's not public ownership, which is what I personally would like to see at the end of the day, but is actually a huge step forward, I think, in improving our bus services and starting to run buses for the benefit of passengers rather than for the benefit of shareholders, which has been the situation since 1986 and has led to a complete crisis. So this actually, I'm convener of the South Yorkshire Better Buses campaign, and our focus since we formed back in last July was to put pressure on Dan Jarvis, the Mayor of South Yorkshire, to go for the franchising option as Mayor, which he has had the power to do since he was elected. And I think the Manchester decision actually puts some more force on that. So we've created a new motion that we're encouraging people to put to their Labour Party branches, trade union branches, campaigning groups, community groups, guides, scouts, tea groups, anywhere where people meet to raise the issue of how we need a real radical change in the organisation of our bus services. And we really need to get that out across the region. I'm going to put in the chat how you can get hold of that. I'll put my email in, it's probably the easiest idea, and then I can send the copy of that out to anybody who is interested. And I would urge people to do that. If you're not part of a group, but you'd like to express an agreement with that, then you can use the wording of the motion to actually send a letter to Jarvis himself. And I would suggest to the Barnsley Council leader as well, expressing your opinion. So that's the first thing that I'd urge people to do. The second thing is I've been at a whole number of meetings organised from different places around the issue of public transport, and in particular buses. I mean, one, by the way, was one last Wednesday, run by the West Midlands, that was arguing for fare-free public transport, and that is an argument that's gaining some traction as well. But the particular meeting that I was at, that I think people here in the Penistone and Stocksbridge area might be interested in, was a meeting launched by the Campaign for the Protection of Rural England, which doesn't sound like a particular radical grouping, but they've just created a very, very interesting paper manifesto thing called Every Village, Every Hour. And they've launched a campaign to say that every rural village that's got more than a handful of inhabitants should have a bus service that runs every hour, every day of the week, 7 days a week, from 6 a.m. in the morning to midnight. And they put all the arguments as to why this is needed. I don't need to go through these, I don't think, to this audience, but they put them very, very well in this document. And they also argue that if some of the money that was spent on building new roads was spent instead on producing better bus services, then actually this claim, this aim, which sounds very, very radical, could actually easily be funded. And all that is in the document as well. And as a consequence of launching that last Tuesday, they have now initiated a letter that they're asking people to send to their local councillors in support of this rural bus strategy. So, oh, Nick's actually posted it for me in the chat. Thank you very much, Nick. And if people click on that, they'll see it's really clear. You only have to put in your councillors and your name and email address and bang that off. So I think it would be really brilliant if rural areas around the Barnsley and Sheffield area actually sent that to their councillors to raise that and ask them to engage with that argument. And the other thing which I will now post as well is the information about the Better Buses motion email, which is there, also the link to the councillors that Nick's already posted. That's got my email and my phone number that you can text. If you want to either join meetings of the Better Buses group, we meet about once a month. Our next meeting will be towards the end of April, or just be kept in touch with what we're doing, then please do that. And I think the key thing is June is the date where transport authorities are expected to start to have a plan in place under the new bus strategy. And so we really need to up the ante in terms of campaigning for the way forward that we see as the way to start to improve our bus services, not something called enhanced partnership, which is what I think at the moment Jarvis is leaning towards, which basically still leaves power in the hands of the bus companies, gives very little extra power to transport authorities. They can do things like implement bus lanes and improve bus stops, but they don't have control over timetables or routes or all those things that are so important in improving our service. I'll leave it there, I think, but thank you very much for inviting me. I know you've got a busy schedule this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Fran. That's very informative about those campaigns there.